Hi guys, thanks for tuning in again. Jeremiah, CoachChron.com here. Today's episode I want to talk about reading and why I think reading is important. As most of y'all know that have been following me for a little while here, I'm about to soon be a new father. My wife and I are going to have our first kid, and I'm thinking about all the stuff that I want to, try and do, reading being one of the key things that I think is very important to young child development, something that certainly I think has played a large role in helping me get to where I am today, and the type of vocabulary that I have, and being able to speak and say and do some of the things that I'm able to do. So today I want to talk about reading, why it's important. And so with that being said, let me dive right in. I think reading is so important because it does so much for you. I can tell you a little bit about my past history in reading. I used to read a lot when I was growing up. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but first let me outline the key benefits, why I think reading is so gosh darn important. One, it improves your vocabulary, obviously, so it opens you to new words that you otherwise wouldn't experience. I don't know how people learn words for this. I remember when I was in school, on a test, you study these 20 words for the test this week and then 20 words next week. That certainly can help, but I actually found myself always in those spelling things. I never really had to think about it. All I had to do was just close my eyes and think about the word that I've seen before. Because I had seen most of these words. That's the great thing about reading, is it pushes you beyond the normal or expected level for most grade types as you're growing up. Just by reading a book, you're going to get exposed to a lot more words than you otherwise would have. And so you kind of naturally, inherently, even if you don't quite understand or know exactly what the word meant, because you got it in context, right, while you were reading, you have an idea of what it means, even if you don't understand exactly the exact definition of it. So it helps you with, number one, understanding words, right, increasing your actual vocabulary and words that you can use in your speech. And two, it helps you with spelling, right? Because you've seen a word and you can identify with a word. So when it comes time for you to write the word, you've actually seen it before. You've read it in context. You've seen it used before. So it's much easier for you to replicate that, or if you're lucky, be able to draw directly back on that visual image that you've seen before of the word. So those two things here. And then three, as we get a little, those are just basic general things, like as you're a kid, that are important, right? Those are things that are just concrete, going to help you be a better student, be better at socializing with other kids, with other people in general, talking with your parents, right? All that type of stuff. The other thing that I want to talk about as a benefit, which is a little more advanced topic, but definitely a huge factor in why I think reading is important, and that is because the more I read, the more I can create these waves, these brain paths of thinking of new things, right? Using my imagination, thinking of worlds, envisioning things. You could be reading a book about fantasy where it's a bunch of characters like Peter Pan, right? It's made up, people are flying around. As a kid, you get to use your imagination like that, and it takes you to a totally different place than the world that you're used to, and it helps you begin to think outside of the box of, what is a limitation, what is reality, what am I confined by? I'm reading this book about these people flying. Can I fly? Okay, why can't I fly, right? You kind of ask yourself these questions, and naturally, you're not going to sit down and ask yourself, okay, they're flying in Peter Pan, why can't I fly? No, that's not what I'm saying, guys. What I'm saying is, you inherently think about these type of things. Your brain thinks about these things by way of reading these stories and having exposure to these different worlds and experiences, right, that you're not actually experiencing. You can experience India, China, these faraway places and worlds, and fictional or non-fictional. You can experience all this stuff just by reading pages in a book. You don't actually have to get a plane ticket and go somewhere and see it with your eyes. Like, you can get a sense and get an understanding and feel like you've experienced it by way of reading. So that's the thing there. And then the secondary thing that also ties into the vocabulary, which you can't. I forget the exact statistics about the average American's vocabulary, but I can tell you, like, for all of the words that are available to us in the English language, we do not make use of very many of them, right? Now, I also have another video where I'll talk a little bit more about that, because actually most Americans tend to use very pessimistic and very gloomy, very bad words to describe their situations, to describe their surroundings. And, a lot of people see that, they're upset or angry or feeling bad because, well, they continually describe their situation and their scenarios with these bad words, right? And if they would just replace those words with, slightly less dramatic words, right? With an expanded vocabulary where I can use a synonym, instead of saying, horrible, I could say, slightly displeasing, right? Slightly displeasing sounds a lot better to me in my brain, right? To me, than the picture I'm painting by saying horrible, right? So things like that, again, different topic, but the point that I'm saying here, the last point as to why, reading is so important, is because the bigger your vocabulary, the more experiences you feel like you've had, whether you've actually went out and had experiences or just experienced them in your mind by reading, these things allow you to better express yourself, right? They allow you to draw upon a bigger pool of words and scenarios and situations and sentences to be able to describe what it is that you're feeling, what it is that you're thinking, what it is that's going on with you, right? And the better that you can articulate that stuff, the better relationships you're going to have, the better you're going to be at communicating and getting what you want, asking for what you want, and people understanding exactly what you want, describing your situation. When you have a problem, you go to the mechanic, right? You can better describe what's happening because you have some experience in, you're not a mechanic, but maybe you've read a couple stories where the guys talked about some things, right? And you have some of these key words that you can draw upon, right? Like crankshaft or brake pad or rotor or tire or things like that. And and these things, with technology the way it is, this isn't just reading books, guys. You don't have to have a library full of books. Everything in this world, a great reading is an ebook called Welcome to E-Society, right? And it talks about how everything is right? E-commerce, email, right? We do everything over the web. We go online. If you need an answer to a question, you ask Google. So all these things, this doesn't just apply to reading a physical book. This could be something on your Kindle. This could be something on your iPad. This could be reading the Wall Street Journal in the morning, which I still read periodicals, sometimes online. I actually get Wall Street Journal delivered to my house in the morning, I don't know, because, I can tell you I got a free offer for it, so that's why I'm getting it right now. But, I do most of my reading online for news stuff because it's more real time. But you can consume this information and you can do this stuff. It's not just an actual book, but reading in many ways. Reading the news, reading the sports section even. Whatever it is. Another thing to think about when you're doing this reading, be cognizant, and something I'm thinking about to be a new father, something I'm thinking about is, what is it that I'm reading, right? And how is that going to shape and mold, and what kind of experiences am I exposing to my child, right? Or to myself when I'm reading something. Because another thing you'll find, and, I'll save this for, again, another topic, another video later, because we're running on, about 10, 11 minutes now. But what you're consuming, what you're putting into your mind, what you're reading about, it's inevitably going to start coming out of your mouth, right? So if you're reading a bunch of car books about Ferraris and Corvettes and like those types of like speed cars, performance cars, if that's what you're reading about, I bet that you're probably going to be noticing a lot more cars on the road when you drive around. You're going to notice the Corvettes, the Ferraris, all the things you've been reading about, because it's what's on your mind. It's what's fresh and new and what your brain is thinking about right now. If you're reading a lot of baby books about how to take care of a baby and stuff, you're inevitably going to bring up stuff like that in your conversations with friends, with your colleagues, with your parents, with your family, because it's foremost on your mind. And so when someone says something, it may not be related, but you're going to find a way to relate it to something that is fresh to you. You'll be like, oh, you said XYZ, that actually, I was just, reading, like babies, they do ABC. And so, it's kind of funny that we as adults do XYZ and babies do ABC, right? Isn't that funny? And you just have conversations like that. So be very cognizant of that as well. I'll leave you with that, guys. End of the day, the main goal here, reading is important. Reading is fun. If you can read a book or a magazine and just take it for what it is, not all reading is fun. Find stuff that you like. If you're not stimulated by sports, then don't read about sports. If you like made up stuff, if you like make believe worlds, if you like reading about dragons and dungeons and fire breathing animals, read about that stuff. That's stimulating for you, so do it. If you're more technical and you like reading about how things work, if you like that show, how things work, and you like reading about, how does a watch or a clock work? What are all the mechanisms and gears that make it tick and turn and stay precise? Read about that. That's interesting. That's stimulating. It's going to help you. So whatever it is, make it exciting for you. You can always tell. I can always tell when I'm reading. One good way to tell if you're interested or not is how long is it taking you to read what it is you're reading right now, right? If you pick it up and, a couple days later you're halfway through or you finish the book, well, like you were pretty interested in that. You were consuming it very rapidly. You were interested. You wanted to go to the next page. If it's taking you, and you keep finding it on your weekly list, like, oh, read, 20 more pages of this book, read 100 pages of this book, whatever, and it keeps coming up and it's been on your list for several weeks or a month even, there's a reason why it's getting pushed back. Is because it's not that entertaining to you. It's not that stimulating. So if that's the case, well, put that book down and go get a new one. Go get a new one that is entertaining, because you don't want to starve yourself just because you're not interested in something. Now, that being said, also, and again, I'll wrap it up here, guys. I don't want to keep you too long here today. I know we've all got to get out there. We've got to keep pushing forward, moving onward, upward today. So I'll leave you with this. Reading is important. Do it as much as you can. Set time aside for it. When you're young, when you're growing up, make time. Don't look at it as a chore. Don't look at it as a challenge. It's not, right? Find stuff you're interested in and read it. I can tell you it's going to help you leaps and bounds when you're older in life. It's going to expand your vocabulary. It's going to expand your thinking powers. It's going to expand your critical thinking powers. And it's going to allow you to more effectively communicate with others and overall impact you in many different areas of your life that are going to be beneficial. So take that, go on with your day today. I wish everyone the best of luck in what it is you're striving towards today. Make it happen. Make time to set aside some time to do a little reading today, whether it's a book, a magazine, or a periodical, whatever it is. Read something today, and when you do, I hope you think about this message and realize, hey, yeah, I actually had a good time reading that. That's stimulating. That was beneficial for me. Just like working out is beneficial for your body, reading is beneficial for your mind. So keep going, onward and upward. CoachChron signing off. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a good one.